your hands in the air and
Dr. Do, Dr. Do.
mixing sodas with the beer and
Dr. Do, Dr. Do.
So why don't everybody cheer it?
Dr. Do, Dr. Do.
This is the one right here, y'all.
Throw your
What is y'all, your social media platform artist and the host of the great YouTube channel? I'm your host, Dr. Do here, everyone. How are we on this wonderful Friday afternoon right here? Today's video, we're going to do another history video. This one is going to be a dark history one right here. I want to talk about this expedition that was led by this captain and a crew of over 133 men. They were led to go to the Arctic up in the Canadian territory to discover the passage, which was not yet been discovered or yet been on the map yet. Alright, we're going to talk about this expedition known as the Franklin Expedition. Alright, this is considered one of the most disastrous expedition that ever happened in recorded history, and not the worst expedition in British history. It was led by none other than Sir Franklin John Franklin, alright? He led a crew of 133 men to look for the Northwest Passage in order to gain enough access to go from Britain into the passage to the Pacific. It was supposed to be a 1-year expedition, but it led a longer and a brutal expedition that would never been fully discovered. Alright, y'all. It led to a lot of lives dying. Alright, y'all. Before we get started, if you guys new to the YouTube channel, please subscribe to the channel. Alright, y'all. Hit notification down below. Comment down below. See what you guys think of this dark history story video, and I want y'all to think of how good it is. I want to tell y'all. And also, if you guys new to the YouTube channel, please subscribe to the channel. Alright, y'all. That if you guys wanted Dr. Do merch, go to Card Bio to get you guys Dr. Do merch. We got hoodie, drinkwares, shirts, sweater, long sleeve shirt, prepare for winter. Alright, y'all. And so, without further ado, let's get the party started. You see, throughout the history, many explorers are trying to find a way to get to the Pacific a lot easier than going around South America in order to get to the Pacific. And all the territory at that time were all been discovered except for the American territories up in Canada, which is still not yet discovered. Many adventurers try to explore the Northwest Passage to try to find an access point to get to the Pacific a lot easier, but many of them didn't reach it, or even never came back, or even come back alive. So around 1840s, a man known as Sir John Franklin wanted to do one last expedition before retiring, because he wanted to find the passage in the Northwest in order to gain the offensive for Britain and her crew. So he decided to hire men and crew members to join him on this expedition. It had over 133 crew members, alright? And the officers that joined him named Captain Francis Crozier, and also his third command, he also slash second command of his ship, James Fitzpatrick. Wait. His name is Fitz James right there. I tried to get his name right. Alright, sorry. And they were not only the candidate, volunteer candidate, they were at first were not picked for this, because Fitz James wasn't all the way experienced at all yet, because he is still young. He just recently came out of a war that happened 6 years before the expedition, the Oil War, which he told his story that he got shot by a Chinese sniper. And for Captain Crozier, the reason why he is the only choice he got because there are no other officers. And also, there were some concern that about his decision of picking him because he is Irish. You know, at that time, Irish people were this like prosecuted at that time when Britain is still holding the full control of Ireland at that time. So he decided to pick them as his second and third command and his whole entire crew. And their ships were known as the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror. Erebus is commanded by John Franklin, and Terror commanded by Crozier himself. Both ships decided to set sail from England to the Northwest Passage in the year 1845. By 1846, they were closer to the gateway to the passage. A bad event that happened to them went wrong because as they were closer to the gateway to the passage, they had over 4 men on that ship die all suddenly, and all 4 of them were buried on Beachy Island. It was crazy and tragic that they had lost 4 men in 1 year, and they haven't even know how they managed to die so quickly. They were not expecting them to die very suddenly. You get what I mean? Many archaeologists at that time say it was scurvy that killed these 4 men. But however, I would tell y'all what really killed them. I will tell y'all later on in the video, okay, y'all? Because it's very important to know what happened to them, okay? And so, following the aftermath of the death of the 4 men, and they were buried on Beachy Island, things get worse for them because the ice had damaged the pillars on the Erebus. You gotta know something about the Erebus and Terror because they were modernized. They were former warships. They were used during in the War of 1812 and the Napoleonic War. They were upgraded with with heaters technology that would help them get to the passage a lot faster. One of their sterns, they had stern that could help them go faster. Like, you had to have coal to get them up and running, and sails that help the ship get faster as well. But when their ship was hit by ice, the pillars were damaged. It caused many of them were concerned about what gonna happen now that the Erebus stern was damaged and become a little slower. Crozier suggested that they should abandon the Erebus and head to a closest port on King William Island, which is King William Island is still not yet all the way discovered right now. And Crozier said that they should wait by 1847 spring, and they could continue on to the Northwest Passage just beyond the Terror. But John Franklin refused, and he won't accept that because he wanted to quickly get to the passage as soon as he can. Alright, y'all? You gotta know John Franklin. He wanted it to be done quickly as possible, alright? On September, the ice has started to freeze very fast. On the early September, which just became harder for the ships to get through the ice because they becoming thicker and thicker every day. And so far, by around September, the whole entire river they were in were completely frozen. They were stuck in the ice for like 2 months, but eventually it got to the point of melting. And they continue on a little bit more, but however they got stuck again by winter of 1846, where they are completely stuck there. Because 1847 will be the darkest year, not just for Franklin expedition, but for the entire world itself, because the winter of 1847 were considered one of the most devastating winter that ever hit the world at that time. Because it's not just the Franklin expedition that got hit by it, but also there were events that happened, such as the Irish famine and the California pioneer expedition, which claimed the lives of a lot of men and women that were trying to get to California at that time. It's tragic because 1847 winter was brutal. Alright, Irish famine took the lives of thousands of men, women, and children, starved them, causing the whole entire Irish people to migrate to America. Yeah, you can say that would be a big reason why there's so many Irish people here to this day. And so, in 1847, they are completely trapped in the ice. No way out and no way to get the get the ship moving. John Franklin was disappointed for the fact that they were stuck there in the ice, hoping that the ice will melt. But however, tragedy hit them again. You see, in 1847, their men are starting to feel sickness and illnesses that plaguing the whole entire crew of the Arabic and Terror. Alright? And also another tragic thing that happened in 1847, John Franklin died in 1847. Because it was said in a little messenger in a stone-like pillar that which contained a note from the crews and the captain of the Arabic and Terror that they had lost Captain John Franklin. They didn't say how he died, but I know for that there's so many. There are reasons how did he die. All right, so Croce became command of the whole entire crew of the Arabic and Terror. They started to pack all their food and stuff to the Arabics to ensure they save enough coal on the Terrors. All right, but however, during the whole entire 1847, they had not seen any progress of the ice melting at all. And also, they've been in the dark for a whole entire year. All right, imagine not seeing the sun for over a year. That would suck a lot. Okay. Also the ice itself they were stuck in. The ice were like 8 to 10 feet tall ice, like it covered the whole entire ocean itself where they were at. It became clear that it would take a long time for the ice to melt. All right, so they're starting to have another problem is they starting to see starting to lose some men on the following of 1847. They started to see the longer men starting to die from either sickness, frostbite, scurvy, or even course. One thing that killing them faster than the disease that causing them to have really bad mental capacity and stuff. All right, and so what did Croce do? Finally, in the year of the early year 1848, on April, he ordered his whole entire officer and his whole entire crew to abandon the Arabics and Terror and head to King William Island. And they had to do is march 200 miles to the nearest port because they had not seen the ice melted for about 18 months. 18 months without seeing the ice melted. It's crazy, right? Being stuck on the ice for 18 months, that's almost 2 years without seeing any melting point at all. So Croce and Fitzjames and the whole entire cruise had no choice but to lead the Arabic Terror. But also, you wanna know how many people died during the they were on the Arabian and Terror stuck in the ice. Of the 133 men on board, they lost over 26 officers and Navy sailors, including John Franklin. They had to march 200 miles from their ships all the way to the port on King William Island. It was a slow progress. During the first weeks, they would not be getting better for the Arabians and the Terror crew, because they started to see a lot of their crew starting to have gotten more sick and gotten more fatal illnesses that plaguing their whole entire crew. And they're starting to have like frostbite all over their body, like black finger, black hand, arms. They had to have their parts removed in order to not let the frostbite affect more of your body. That sucked to be a member of the Franklin expedition. They thought it would be 1 year on the ship to find the Northwest Passage, but they've been on that ship for 3 years. Imagine being on the ship for 3 years without seeing anyone at all. So, following their attempt to get to the nearest pole, they were not close to 25%. They had not covered 25% of the island at all. They were not even close to it. They were still close to the coast where they came from. All right, and they are starting to have seen more men dying from illness and also diseases and frostbite. They don't have the equipment to keep them warm and stuff. And following that, they discovered something that causing them to die and also causing them to have sickness, with the men and women that were looking for the crew of the Arabian Terror. They found something evil on that site. Following 1848, a man known as James Ross had led a expedition group to look for the crew of the Arabian Terror, and he left in 1848 on a ship known as the HMS Investigator and the HMS Enterprise. It was a regiment made by John Franklin's wife, Jane Franklin. She was so worried that she asked the Royal Navy officer to find Franklin, and so they decided to go to the Canadian territory. But however, around 1850, the HMS Investigator got stuck in the ice from 1850 till they abandoned it in 1853. James Ross and his whole entire crew met the indigenous people and asked them what happened to the men of the Arabians and Terror. Indigenous people claimed that they found some remains of the whole entire of crew members that were found on Beachy Island, where they took them there. From 1851 to 1859, for 8 years, they found remains of the crew of the Arabians and Terror. They were shocked to find human remains of the crew members. Alright? They were tragic because they had not thought that they would find what remained of the crew itself, because they thought that they made it through the passage, but however, they had not seen any sign of both ships, which they were told what they put the coordinates on the paper, which they were sending a message to anyone who found it. It's tragic, really. It really is tragic to find what remained of the Arabians and Terror. And also, they found the equipments and the tents which they discovered on Beachy Island. King William Island. They found 30 crew members of the Arabians and Terror members of the expedition. most of them were skeletons by the time the rescue team found them. And then eventually in 1859, they call out the rescue teams, and they classified that the Arabic and terror crew all passed away. Many people want to know how did it all gone wrong? How did everybody on that cruise ship disappear and died? Well, to get to that, in the year 1904, when the archaeologists found the graves of the 4 Arabic and terror crew members that died on BC Island, they discovered something that is totally makes sense, because they found lead in their bodies. All of them died from lead poisoning. That's right. It was lead that killed most of the men on the Arabic and terror, because how they managed to have lead in their bodies, because 2 things. First off, it was the water pipes that had the water that on the Arabic and terror. They were coated with lead, which thought that would protect the pipe from rusting. Alright, which kind of makes sense, because you need something to prevent the water making the pipes rusty. And 2, it was the tin they found on the boats where what remains of the Arabic and terror crew members. They discovered that tins were also had lead in them, and also they were also lack nourishing. Many other crew members were starving because of that. Because of the lead poisoning. All right, the lead poisoning is very dangerous to a human body. You can find lead like right here, which make a lot of sense. All right, and also scurvy. They found some scurvy in some crew member, but however, mostly lead was the number one thing that could have killed most of the crew members of the Arabic terror. And so far, how many you guys want to know how many crew members they have found so far? Of the 133 crew members, they only found is 38 members of the Arabic terror crew. So far, they have not found the other remains of the 133 so far. The only officer they have found so far is Captain Fitzjames so far, which is the 3rd command of the Arabic terror of that time. Many have suggested that he died from the bullet that was inside of him, and with the bullet that was in him was a lead bullet, which makes sense of how Fitzjames died. Alright? And also Crozier. No one knows what really happened to Captain Crozier at all. Many have said that he could have survived the walking on King William Island, because he could have survived and rescued by indigenous people, which he had great knowledge with the indigenous. He even speaks the language of the indigenous people. Alright? I felt like that he could have survived that and live among them. How come he never going to come back? How come he never come back at all if he would have survived? But to tell you the truth, if you are an officer responsible for the lives of 133 men on board, you will be questioned by many reporters, journalists, and family members of the crew itself, which I felt like it could have made sense of why Captain Crozier could have survived and never come back to Britain. He don't want to be the one who is responsible for all the deaths of them. But I feel like the cans mostly the cans were responsible for the deaths right there. And also, what happened to the rest of the bodies of the 133 men? I think that following the first 2 weeks of them walking from the Arabic terror, to the port. I think that they, during the first weeks of the walking, I felt like they burned the bodies that which the crew member were died from the sickness right there. Could make sense of what happened to the other crews, and also found signs of cannibalism because one of the explorers that found a body of a crew member that died got his leg removed and found it in some sort of a near of a fire which had a lot of cuts, so it indicated that they did in fact did cannibalism during their walking to the port itself. They were not even close to the port itself. It attracted how the men of the Arabian and Terror would have gone so far trying to find the passage. Eventually the Northwest Passage had not been discovered at all until 1903 by another expedition group at that time, where they discovered the Northwest Passage and the whole entire territory of Canada. They managed to get all the territory and put it on the globe. It's so sad for what happened to all the men on board. They only wanted to become the first expedition to find the Northwest Passage, but however, all their hope and dream came all the way to the end. It's tragic, very tragic. So there you have it. This is a video I wanted to tell y'all about the dark history of the Franklin expedition. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope y'all have a great day. Please subscribe to this video, hit notification down below, comment down below, see what you guys think, and I hope y'all have a great day. See you guys next time, alright? Peace out.